by Yeats. I'm not teaching Yeats myself this year, so I'm sure if you're in my class, you're going to switch this video off immediately. But I had a request to deal with a poem, and it's a poem I particularly love, and why not have a quick look at it? So the poem is called Sailing to Byzantium. It is one of the greatest poems I've had the pleasure to read in my life. And if I was studying Yeats for my Leaving Cert, it's certainly a poem I would look at. It is a poem in which Yeats addresses deeply personal themes. And so when you're looking at Yeats's poetry, if you're preparing him for your exams, you know that you need to prepare a couple of that kind of deeply personal poems like this, and like Wild Swans Are Cool. They're the two I normally do. And then a couple or two or three of the more kind of social commentary poems like September 1913, Easter 1916, Stairs Nest by My Window, Second Coming, and so on. But this is a brilliant poem. So I'm going to go through it quickly, just focusing on key images in it. But overall, look, it's a poem about two things: ambition and mortality. In terms of ambition, the poet has this idealized version of what he would like to achieve in his life, and that is to create art that will be timeless. He uses the image of Byzantium, which is a place, a city in modern day Turkey, which to him is emblematic of the zenith of artistic achievement, the high point. So when he's writing this poem and he's thinking of the greatest example he can think of human artistic achievement, he's thinking of Byzantium. So when he's writing about sailing to Byzantium, he's talking about his desire to write poetry which will become timeless and which will reach the level of achievement that he thinks of when he thinks of Byzantine art. That's what the poem is about. It is also about the fact that he's getting old and he's worried that he's never going to achieve his goal because he's going to run out of time. It's a brilliantly honest poem, very vulnerable, highly intelligent, beautifully crafted. You can see the rhyming scheme I've laid out there. It's written in iambic pentameter. And then it's built around these kind of core images. In the opening stanza, these descriptions of the natural world. Yeats' poetry is very, very, you see a motif in his poetry of nature images. See, pick a poem and I'll show you a nature image, okay? But here you have this celebration of the beauty of Ireland as a vibrant, natural environment. The young in one another's arms, birds in the trees, salmon falls, mackerel crowded seas. So this sense of the beauty of the natural world, but that sense is then married to an awareness that being part of nature means being mortal, those dying generations. We see him in this section talking about the idea of the reality that if you are conceived and born, you will die. So he has this heightened awareness of his mortality. And he's talking about how when he was young and he was really enjoying being the physical side of life, and much like Kavanagh talks about testing and tasting in Advent, he's saying, I was caught in that sensual music. I mean, first of all, what a brilliant metaphor for being young. Caught in sensual music, enjoying the pleasures of youth. But he said, when I was young, I wasted time pursuing sensual pleasures when I should have been concentrating on producing monuments of unaging intellect. And for him, monuments of unaging intellects and monuments of the soul's magnificence, that repetition of monuments, that's art. So it's this sense of regret that he's pissed away time which is precious, time which he's now aware is running out, on things that are of no real intrinsic value when he should have been concentrating on producing great work. So brilliant. The poem addresses this idea of somehow being trying to escape from mortality through art. The connection, that's the ambition, to create art that's so timeless that he will become immortal. And of course, he's not talking about physically immortal. He knows that's not possible. There's a brilliant image here of him feeling that he's fastened to a dying animal. Love that metaphor. Like, that's our bodies. Our bodies are animals which are dying. And he's fastened to the dying animal, which means that he is, his soul will die with his body. But this idea is that somehow, if his soul manages to clap its hands, see it there, that means if he manages to create great poetry, if he can create great poetry, he will have escaped from the mortal and entered the immortal. And in the poem, he's like praying to art. And he captures the idea of art in this Byzantine symbol of the gold mosaic of a wall. And he comes up with this kind of weird image of Pern and the Gyre, this something which cannot be understood. That's what, Pern and the Gyre has been one of the it's not meant to be understood. It symbolizes things that cannot be understood. And one of the things that cannot be understood is where the inspiration for great poetry, great art comes from. But he's praying, desperately needing somehow to be inspired. He wants his soul to be taught to sing. He wants to give everything of his essence of who he is to his art, consume my heart away. He's desperate to do it before he dies. He's sick with desire. And he knows that if he can just produce something great, then he will escape mortality. Because what's mortality? Mortality is being forgotten. Can you name your parents? I'm sure you can. Can you name your grandparents? I'm sure you can. Can you name your great-grandparents? Very few people can. We live this life, we think we're really important, we think we have some significance, we think we have some value, and then we die and then we're forgotten really quickly. That's the truth of human existence. And the only exceptions to that are people who achieve greatness, somehow achieve greatness. Science, art, literature, maybe evil people. But there's most of us, of all the billions of us that exist and have existed, 99.99999 recurring will be forgotten. And Yeats is afraid of being forgotten. There's an ego at play here. And he wants to be remembered by creating great art. That's the poem. And when the poem ends with this image of him as a form that Grecian goldsmiths make, again, people really would find that very hard. The golden songbird image is a metaphor for his poetry. And he wants to be put upon a golden bough, so he wants to reach the standard where he's regarded, his work is golden, valuable, rare, of worth. And then for the rest of it, if you appreciate poetry, he's talking about you, will be able to read his work and understand that it's timeless and of value. So that's Sailing to Byzantium, one of the best poems I've ever read in my life. Sorry for rushing it.